The husband demanded a divorce. I fell out of love with you. I'm tired of your sick look and your pills. I want a young woman. He was surprised by his wife's calm answer. I agree, but only on one condition. The wife smiled slyly, and then Abigail slammed the MacBook lid down with such fury, as if the laptop was to blame for all her troubles. The day had been unusually rotten. The client had changed the technical specifications 3 times, and the doctor on the phone hinted at increasing her medication dose, as if she hadn't already become a walking pharmacy. Outside, February smeared dirty gray New York gloom across the windows. Typical weather for 6 p.m. High time to brew her favorite Earl Grey tea and wrap herself in a blanket. Only today, something went wrong. The front door clicked shut 3 hours earlier than usual. Michael, why are you home so early? His wife didn't even turn around, continuing to stare at her reflection on the dark laptop screen. For the past year, their communication resembled a radio play. Each existed on their own frequency, pretending to hear the other. We need to talk. Her husband's voice sounded strange, as if he had a cold. Abigail mentally smirked. In 15 years of marriage, she had studied all his intonations. This meant, I messed up, but you're going to be blamed. Go on. The woman turned in her chair, noting to herself that her husband looked like a middle manager before being fired, rumpled but dressed up. I'm filing for divorce, her husband blurted out in one breath, as if jumping into cold water. Abigail felt something inside snap. No, not her heart, but rather the last thread of hope that everything would somehow work itself out. I can't live like this anymore, Michael continued, pacing nervously around the room. These endless hospitals, your pills, the constant complaints. I'm a living person. I'm 43, and I'm living like an old man. 43. His wife automatically corrected. And who is she? Michael froze. What? Oh, let's not go there, the woman unexpectedly laughed. I'm not blind. New shirts, a gym membership, weekend business trips. Classic. Just tell me her name. Tiffany. Her husband uttered the name with a peculiar intonation that made Abigail shudder. She's 25. She's completely different. Full of life, energy, and most importantly, healthy, and can give you children. His wife said this without reproach, simply stating a fact. Once, they had decided together not to risk her health for a child. Or rather, she thought they had decided together. Yes. Michael almost shouted the confession. Yes, damn it. I want a normal family, not this. This existence. Abigail slowly stood up. A foolish thought ran through her head. It was good that today she wore her favorite loungewear, not stretched-out sweatpants. For some reason, it seemed important to look dignified at the moment of her 15-year marriage's collapse. All right. The woman's voice sounded unexpectedly firm. I agree. Just like that. Her husband clearly expected a different reaction. Hysterics, tears, maybe even throwing objects. On one condition. What condition? A wary note appeared in the man's voice. His wife smiled for the first time during the entire conversation. That smile suddenly made Michael uneasy. You'll find out tomorrow. Give me until morning. As soon as the front door closed behind Michael, Abigail grabbed her phone. Her fingers trembled as she searched for the right contact. Hello, Rachel, what are you doing? I need your help. Yes, it's urgent. Very. No, I'm not dying. But, well, Michael filed for divorce. Wait, don't start wailing. I need legal help. Your brother is a lawyer, isn't he? Can he come over in an hour? The woman methodically gathered documents, spreading them out on the table like cards in a solitaire game. 15 years of married life, materialized in papers, marriage certificates, apartment deeds, mortgage agreements. They had paid off 3 years ago. Car titles. So, he wants young and healthy, huh? Well, well, she muttered, pulling a thick folder of medical records from the closet. The doorbell rang exactly 1 hour later. Rachel's brother stood on the doorstep. Paul, a dignified man in an expensive coat, carrying a leather briefcase. A typical successful lawyer from a TV show. Tell me, the young man said curtly, settling at the table and taking out his laptop. My husband decided to upgrade his model. Abigail gave a joyless chuckle. He found someone younger, and without health problems. And I want I want him to feel what it's like to be sick and dependent. Paul raised an eyebrow. And how do you imagine that? I have a plan, but I need to know how legal it is. They spent the next hour discussing the details. Paul frowned, then nodded approvingly, then typed something quickly. You know, the young man finally said, closing his laptop. Usually I don't take on family cases, but this is something special. I'll take it, and I'll even give you a discount. After all, my sister recommended you. So, it will work out with the right approach. Yes, but we need to act fast. I'll expect you at the office tomorrow morning. And you're doing well. Most women in this situation either get hysterical or start begging. But you, and I'm just tired of being nice. Abigail shrugged. You know, like in that joke. Don't wake the bitch in me, she's already sleep-deprived. After seeing Paul out, the woman took a bottle of red wine from the bar, poured a glass, but didn't drink. She just watched the light play in the dark liquid. Her phone was buzzing with messages. Rachel was furiously typing in the messenger, demanding details. Abigail opened the chat and wrote briefly. Everything is going according to plan. I'll tell you tomorrow. In the bedroom, making the bed, the woman allowed herself to cry for the first time that day. Quietly, silently, like people who are used to coping all alone. 15 years. Half of her conscious life. All those for better or worse, in sickness and in health. What a load of nonsense when it comes to real problems. It'll be all right, she whispered, wiping away tears. Tomorrow will be a new day, and a new me. In the morning, getting ready to go to Paul's office, the woman put on makeup and her favorite dress, for the first time in a long while. Looking in the mirror, she suddenly realized this was far from the end. This was a beginning. The beginning of something new, where she would no longer feel guilty about her illness. Michael called when she was already getting into a cab. So, are you going to tell me about your conditions? Of course, dear. Her voice took on a honeyed tone. Come to the office on Lexington Avenue at 3 o'clock. We'll discuss everything there. The law firm's office was cool, which pleased the woman greatly. She didn't like the heat. Abigail had purposely arrived early to discuss the last details with Paul. Her migraine, as if on cue, was flaring up again. Coffee? The lawyer gestured to the coffee machine in the corner of the office. No, thank you, I can't. Let's get down to business. The young man spread documents on the massive mahogany table. Are you sure you only want the house? We could really shake down your husband. I have information about his shady dealings at work. I'm sure, his client interrupted. I only need that house, the one we inherited from his mother. And let's not resort to blackmail. I don't want to stoop to his level. The house is in such a state. Paul winced, flipping through the appraisal photos. It's a teardown. The roof leaks, the utilities are non-existent, the yard is overgrown. Do you even realize how much the repairs will cost? That's my concern. The woman smiled mysteriously. Just prepare the documents and don't look at me like that. I haven't lost my mind. You know, the lawyer leaned back in his chair. In 15 years of practice, this is the first time I've seen a wife ask for an old house instead of a decent share of the assets in a divorce. Then I'm special. Abby winked, but then winced from a shooting pain in her temple. Michael arrived exactly on time. A freshly pressed suit, a self-satisfied smile, expensive cologne. He reeked of happiness and pricey aftershave from a mile away. At the sight of the lawyer, the man's smile faltered slightly. So, what's the condition? Her husband plopped into a chair, his whole demeanor showing disdain for the situation. Just make it quick. I have a meeting in an hour. It's simple. Abby looked at her husband intently. I want your mother's house on the outskirts of the city. The house she left us in her will. We'll sell the apartment and split the money. And you can keep the car. Michael burst out laughing loudly. And that's all? Seriously? That old shack? And I thought, my God, Abby, you've always been eccentric, but this is beyond. Exactly. His wife remained unperturbed, though inside everything churned at his condescending tone. You have your father's apartment, so you won't have any problems with housing. Or were you planning to keep everything? Oh, just take it. The man threw his hands up dramatically. Honestly, I was expecting something more dramatic. Hysterics, demands, threats, and here it's just some ancient house with a leaky roof. Tiffany won't believe it when I tell her. It's not appropriate to mention the other woman during a divorce, Paul noted dryly, pushing the documents towards Michael. Let's focus on the matter at hand. Silence fell in the office, broken only by the rustling of papers and the tapping of an expensive pen on the table. Michael deliberately read each point slowly. You know, her husband suddenly looked up from signing the documents. Mom used to say some nonsense about that house before she died. Like it's special. It has a good aura. Can you imagine, at her age, she already believed in mysticism. She kept saying that the house needed to be taken care of, that it gave strength. Maybe it wasn't nonsense, Abigail replied softly, remembering how she first stepped into that house. Then, 15 years ago, she didn't have migraines yet, and her mother-in-law was alive, a kind, wise woman who had accepted her as her own daughter. When all the documents were signed, Michael stood up, adjusting his jacket. Well, is everyone happy now? Tiffany is waiting. Damn, excuse me. Yes, everyone is free. The lawyer closed the document folder. You'll receive the house deeds in 3 days. Good luck. With the house, the man threw over his shoulder and left, without even looking at his wife. Abigail sat in the office for a long time, stroking the document folder. Her mother-in-law's words about the special house echoed in her mind. Everything will be fine, she whispered. Now it really will be. The first thing the woman did upon receiving the keys to the house was to throw open all the windows, stale air, dust, and cobwebs. 5 years of neglect had turned the once cozy dwelling into a set for a horror movie. Well, shall we get reacquainted? She ran her hand over the old wallpaper. It responded with a rustle, as if the house was indeed greeting its new owner. The money from the apartment sale came in very handy. Abigail methodically, room by room, began to transform the house. New roof, utilities, floors, everything needed replacing, but strangely enough, the work didn't tire her. On the contrary, every day she woke up with anticipation of new tasks. What are you doing? Rachel exclaimed, coming to visit her friend. You'll waste all your money on this shack. You should have rented an apartment instead. It's not a shack, it's a home, Abigail replied calmly, clearing the overgrown garden. And it's worth it. The summer house in the depths of the plot unexpectedly turned out to be almost intact. A little roof repair, new windows, and it made an excellent workshop. The woman had long dreamed of her own atelier, but Michael had always called it a whim. First client. She was as happy as a child when a neighbor brought a dress for repair. Then came a second, a third. Word of mouth worked flawlessly, and then something strange happened. At first, Abigail didn't pay attention to it, but after 6 months, she began to notice that the migraines that had tormented her for years were starting to recede. First, they became less frequent, then weaker, and then, it can't be. The doctor studied the test results with disbelief. This simply doesn't happen. Are you taking something? Only fresh air and work I enjoy, the woman smiled. Time flew by unnoticed. The atelier slowly gained momentum. The house was transformed, and Abigail seemed to grow younger. The wrinkles between her eyebrows disappeared. A sparkle appeared in her eyes, her back straightened. She hardly ever thought about Michael. Only sometimes, looking through old photos, she wondered how he was doing. She knew from mutual acquaintances that he had married Tiffany immediately after the divorce. However, that no longer mattered. Mom was right, she whispered in the evenings, sitting on the renovated porch. The house really does have a special aura. Not the walls and roof, but what happens within it. Life was getting better. Clients were increasing. Regular customers appeared. The woman even hired an assistant, a young girl from the neighboring house, who dreamed of learning to sew. You know, Rachel said one day, looking at her friend, the divorce actually did you good. You've changed. Not the divorce, Abigail shook her head. It's just, I'm doing what I love and living where I want. And then came that encounter, 3 years later, in a shopping mall, where the woman had gone to buy fabrics. Abby, is that you? A familiar voice caught up with her at the fabric department. She slowly turned, already knowing whom she would see. Michael stood a few feet away from her. The first thing that struck her was how much he had aged. Graying temples, bags under his eyes, a gaunt face. There was no trace left of the confident, handsome man who had announced their divorce 3 years ago. Hello. The woman calmly met his astonished gaze. Long time no see. I barely recognized you. Her ex-husband continued to stare at her with a strange expression. You've changed so much. Time spares no one, Abigail shrugged, smiling inwardly. She knew perfectly well how she looked. Fit, well-groomed, with a sparkle in her eyes and a healthy glow. No, you've gotten younger. The man shook his head, as if time had turned back. And your migraines, did they ever go away? She smiled slightly. Completely. Doctors are still in shock. How? Michael's voice trembled. Did you find some treatment? You could say that. I just started living my own life in that old shack you despised so much. Her ex-husband nervously adjusted his jacket sleeve. Abigail noticed how much his hands were shaking. And you? How are you? She asked more out of politeness. Not so good. The man gave a joyless chuckle. The last year, it's like someone cursed me. First hypertension, then heart problems, now neuralgia. And Tiffany? How is she? He quickly looked away. She said she didn't sign up to be a caretaker. Abigail felt her lips stretch into a smile. Not a malicious one, but rather understanding. You know, the woman picked up her bag of fabrics. Life always puts everything in its place. I was sick because you were my headache. You left. The illness left. And to you, it seems, it just transferred along with Tiffany. Abby, her ex-husband, took a step towards her. I must say, I was wrong back then. Maybe we could. She gently shook her head. No maybes. I have my path, you have yours. And you know what? I'm grateful to you. If it weren't for that divorce, I would never have found myself. Thank you. Are you happy? Michael's voice held a strange mix of surprise and bitterness. More than. Abigail adjusted her purse on her shoulder. I have my own business. A beloved home and no migraines, and most importantly, no pain of an unloving husband. The woman turned and walked towards the exit, feeling his gaze on her back. Her heels confidently clicked on the marble floor of the shopping mall, beating the rhythm of a new, happy life. 6 months later, she learned from mutual acquaintances that Michael had been hospitalized with a heart attack. Tiffany didn't even visit him. But Abigail no longer cared. She was too busy preparing for the showing of her first clothing collection. If you liked the story, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you there.